Doo-doo-doo.
No, it's
Or it'd be the Sports Center. Doo-doo-doo-doo.
oh gosh. My daughter dated someone that would, like, had that alert on his phone all the time. Every time there was like a Sports Center type alert come through.
No.
Oh my gosh. And it was like loud too. It wasn't just like
They're making sure that everybody within a 5-mile radius knows that something happened on ESPN.
I know.
Everybody take a moment as you come in here. Please do us a solid here and just share this with your friends.
And by the way,
Tell your friends.
We know when you don't share it. Because we can see who shares it and who doesn't.
I'm watching you.
But you didn't know that. Now that
you never know.
We'd really appreciate that share.
You never know who's watching. It's like we're like Santa Claus.
People really actually don't realize how important it is to share this stuff out, though. I mean, really, that's gotta be honest with you. It's not just a shameless plea for people to share. It really super duper helps us. And if you're able to share it to certain groups that you're part of, as long as they allow shares like that, share it over there too. So,
I mean, it never hurts. I will say that possibly in the near future, maybe we'll do a form of a giveaway for people who share the show. Why? Is that against the rules?
Yes, it is.
Why? They can determine how I want to give things away? Yes,
I was just reading this the other day about Facebook's rules for sweepstakes giveaways, type of thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little bit. I'll have to talk about it offline. I could be totally wrong. I think I'm right though, but it was like one of those things where it's like there are certain things that you can and cannot do. It was really interesting too. I'm like, wow, I just realized it. And also, it's also like everybody breaks these rules too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, everybody, give us a like and keep sharing and let us know. And you do this, and you'll enter into doing this, that, and the other, and you'll get a giveaway.
It's the best way to do it.
I know.
But let's head on in and let's jump into this show. Like we started a show all the time, we want to thank all those fantastic sponsors that help sponsor and fuel our show. Speaking of fueling, maybe you need that caffeine boost in the middle of the day. Try Trader Sam's Coffee, the artist central roaster of Disney's specialty-inspired coffees. Why not brew some of that magic at your home? They have options including Skipper's Brew, a Ghoulish Delight, which is a fantastic Cinnabon, Tiki Coconut, Redheaded Rum, and so many other unique roasts. Their coffees are all certified and gluten and allergen free, and they feature unique custom artwork, which in brand new bags, which is unbelievable work. They offer an adventure in every bag, so why not start your adventure off today by simply visiting them at TraderSam'sCoffee.com. While you're there, take advantage of being a Behind the Ears podcast listener and save 20% off your first order with promo code EARS20. Once again, that's EARS20 at TraderSam'sCoffee.com. Brew your happy place. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Fantastic Memories Travel. Booking a cruise outside of Disney, maybe you want to fly to Hawaii, you have a Europe trip planned, contact Fantastic Memories Travel. But maybe you're looking for that specialty group that only focuses on Disney. Well, that we've got you covered. That is Mouse Master Travel. Tired of waking up at those 2 a.m. pesky ADR reservations? Maybe you don't feel like making all your fast passes because it's just too frustrating. They take care of all the stressful parts of your vacation planning so you can focus on the fun. You can find them at mousemastertravel.com. While you're there, don't forget to tell them Behind the Ears podcast sent you. Maybe you've got those Monday blues. You can't get quite over hump day yet, and you're really looking for that little bit of a pick-me-up from Disney. Well, the company that can help you with that is Mickey Monthly. They bring you a surprise box of Disney goodies direct from the parks each month, and you can curate and design these packages however you want, from Disney trading pins to Main Street snacks and even park merchandise. Packages start at only $7, so simply head on over to mickeymonthly.com While you're there, let me save you some money. Use our special promo code RADIO35, RADIO35, to save 35% off your first box. Are you a VIP member yet? Maybe you're like, what is this VIP he speaks of? Well, Streaming the Magic offers a VIP treatment for anybody willing to put up only $5 a month. You can't even go to that wretched Starbucks and get yourself a $5 coffee. Head on over to Streaming the Magic, request to be a VIP member, and you will get exclusive streams only for the VIP members and a special show with Behind the Ears podcast, that's me and him, where this is the only place to find it. You can't download it. You can't do anything. You can't watch it on a normal site. You can only view, either listen to the show live or view it later, only in the streaming VIP members. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to Streaming the Magic and get started. Streaming the Magic proudly brings to you Behind the Ears podcast. Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Behind the Ears podcast. Happy hump day to everybody. I am Uncle Danny, the man tapping on the other side of the glass. That is the notorious Mr. Chris. Mr. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you on this fine day today? Oh, I
pretty
cut
good.
him off.
We had
cut him off.
I had to move a fan. We had a fun, exciting show last night. We took a suggestion from one of our listeners, Brandon. If I freeze up on your screen, it's just Facebook messing with us. We did a fun show yesterday. Had a great turnout for. We did our top five each of animated movies made by Disney's animation studios. And Brandon, one of our listeners, had suggested to put out a schedule. So this week we put out our first schedule we've ever done, besides for like marathons and things like that. So yesterday was top 5 Disney animated movies made by Disney Animation. Today is top 5 animated movies made by Pixar. And tomorrow is our top 5 non-animated movies. I'm more excited for tomorrow's than I have been for any of these.
Why?
But, well, I mean, animated, okay, we had a good time. We kind of surprised each other. I mean, let's just get the show going, and let's just get this out of the way. Toy Story is going to be one of them for me. Where is it going to be? Oh, I don't know. Maybe you have to just listen to find out. But I started yesterday, so it is your turn to give me number 5 today.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so again, rules are Danny and I can have different top 5 lists. We can overlap. We can choose, a certain movie twice if it just happens to be that way for us. And it's got to be a Pixar movie. And by the way, we're not referring to any of the Pixar shorts. We're talking about the actual animated features. Now, Danny, before we begin, I didn't really quite realize this. I kind of lost count, so to speak, when I first thought about this. I did not realize that since the beginning of, I'll say, Pixar's realm of movies. It all started in 95, as we know, with a certain movie that I know you love. And they've only made 18 movies up to and including the latest one, which was Cars 3, which was released in June of this year. I actually thought it was more, but I think a lot of people have that perception as well, that Pixar has done many more movies than they've actually done, when I think a lot of people thought some of the movies we talked about last night from Walt Disney Animation Studios were actually Pixar movies. Instead, that is really not the case. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start us off with what I think is my number 5 pick. And I'll be honest with you, this was actually really hard because there's only 18 movies versus 50-some movies from last night. It's a little harder to pick, not just from a ranking standpoint, but what movies end up on the cutting room floor, so to speak. So I am going to start off with my number 5, and that is going to be Finding Nemo. Now, you're going to probably say, why Finding Nemo? Finding Nemo, I think, was a real leap ahead. I think it was a real leap ahead for Pixar in itself. Not only from a really cool, not only from real cool storyline, but you sat in the theater, and I wasn't the only one that said this, but during that first opening scene, it really felt like you were in some kind of an aquarium. That while you could still tell it was animated, it was very, very lifelike. It was very, it had a lot of depth to the animation. And, I want to say that it was just one of those cases where, being that it was released in 2003, May 30th, 2003 was the release date. That was a time where, computer-based animation was still, in my opinion, somewhat in its infancy for major motion pictures, even though it was the better part of a decade past Toy Story and, of course, other animated movies of its time. I mean, because we also, kind of have to remember, there was Pixar, there was DreamWorks, there was doing all these, a lot of people were doing this type of stuff. But I really loved Finding Nemo. I really think it's really cool, even to this day. Even to go see the seas with Nemo and friends. I always like that, just to see the characters and so on. I just think it's a really great movie with a great story. And it's just a real touching story, and I think that they really knocked it out of the park with that, on top of a fabulous soundtrack that with Thomas Newman doing the score for it, and so on and so forth. It was just an all-out great movie.
Okay. Finding Nemo was good. It did not crack my top 5. It was a very good movie. But my top 5 might be a little surprising. I'm not sure. I don't know. It's actually Monsters, Inc., the original.
Really?
I really did enjoy it. It was actually one of the, praised by critics as what they thought was going to be a not so popular movie made by a Pixar film, the Pixar company. Ended up, with $115 million budget, released opening weekend worldwide with $577 million worldwide. It was a 3D release, in theaters back in December 19th of 2012. 12 years later, the prequel Monsters University came out, which I really believe kind of hurt the whole Monsters Inc. Genre. The I don't know, the lineage.
Did you think though that Monsters University kind of twisted what everybody perceived as the backstory of Monsters Inc. itself?
No.
Come on, be honest.
No, it felt like it was. You know what it reminded me of? Like they were trying to copy Jump Street. You ever see Jump Street?
Like 21 Jump Street?
Yeah, 21 Jump Street. You notice how they started as cops and then they went back as like school kids?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, then they were in college. It was just a weird round of events, and I'm like, I've seen something like this.
I would have never thought that you would be able to make a connection between 21 Jump Street, which, by the way, the original 21 Jump Street was back when I was a kid, I might add.
What can I say?
You only know the 21 Jump Street from the crap movies that are out there. He did not.
How dare you?
That's a real interesting parallel that you're making, though, with that. I mean, it was a backstory with Monsters U. First off, I loved the storyline. I loved it. But it was just kind of interesting in how it changed, I think, the backstory of what people thought, how Mike and Sully met, and so on and so forth, because that was never approached in Monsters, Inc.
I mean, the music was done by Randy Newman.
Yeah.
Must I say more?
Randy Newman could, basically play chopsticks on a piano.
It would be
delightful. You could play it in, the fanciest of restaurants, or you can make it into some sort of electronic dance music mix. I mean,
you had, Steve Buscemi was a huge role in that, and you didn't even know it.
It's kind of funny because, you actually had, if you think about it, two anti-heroes of sorts in that movie, between the role that he played as crudskis, help me out. I always think of him as the purple,
Barney?
no, no, I didn't say purple dinosaur. But between him and the director of Monsters Incorporated, it actually had two parts of conflict of interest, so to speak, all brought together by Rise.
I love her. I do want to point something out, though.
What's that? Mr. Waternoose, thank you very much, Ava. I appreciate that.
People might not realize that there was a major lawsuit leading up to this movie.
Really?
Yes. There was a woman named Lori Madrid. All right. She's from Wyoming. She's a children's songwriter. And she claims that the company stole her ideas from her 1997 poem, There's a Boy in My Closet. Supposedly back in October of 99, she had sent out, to 6 publishers her poem. And Chronicle Books was one of the people that got the book. And she claims that Chronicle Books sent it out to Pixar. And then 2 years later, Pixar comes out with a $115 million animated series based off her poem. Bit of a stretch, but it did make it to actual court. It actually made it to court a day before it released. And the judge basically refused to issue the injunction. And the case was stopped right there. And, eventually the creative teams, and they all claimed that they did not infringe on anybody's copyright and ultimately settled for under undisclosed terms. So there was something was exchanged that it almost seems like
something was exchanged. I like how you put that. Something was exchanged.
I can't claim it was money. Tickets to the movie, they might have given her free popcorn. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. So I suppose I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, and your number 4 is
okay. See, I think this actually gets a little bit more difficult. As I said, I think it's difficult because of the sheer number. I'm going to put my number 4 as the movie Up, released 2009. Pete Docter as the director. What was just funny about this movie is that their movies kept on getting better. And I just thought the character of Russell, being a wilderness explorer, trying to do a good deed for this crotchety old guy that was just didn't want to have anything to do. But also you had only a little bit of the backstory between, Mr. Sanderson and Ellie. And just enough to kind of tug on your heartstrings, but also give an understanding of what's going on. And it was just funny. Then you had characters like Doug, Squirrel. And the funny part is, even seriously, if it wasn't for that movie, we probably wouldn't have references to having a squirrel moment, or even an oh shiny moment. I mean, there have been times I've been walking at Walt Disney World with my daughter, and she'll see something out of the corner of her eye. She'll go, "Ooh, shiny," and then keep on going with the conversation type of thing. It's just very much like Doug. It's like squirrel. But yeah, I think this movie actually, obviously, it's not set up for any kind of a sequel, so they really had to give it the entire shot all at one time. And, I really honestly think that, the storyline was really cool. I will admit, I did, it was emotional. It was an emotional beginning of a movie, but at the same time,
so sad.
Well, it was kind of sad, but at the same time, at the very end, you're like, "Oh, it all worked out," and not just in a typical "oh, it worked out" type of way. It was just a very unique storyline, one that I don't think I've seen before, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like it again. So, I think that works. I think that works out really well.
Well, unfortunately, my number 4 is also Up. So
okay. And by the way, Danny, it's a good point to say that you and I did not discuss our top 5s before the show. So what do you think about it? And along those lines.
Very sad beginning. One of the few Disney movies that I know have made actual some men cry because it brings up, more in the it hit home. It was a more of a reality check for even a lot of the parents in there. I thought the cast was absolutely great. I thought everybody's voice was just right on target. I feel like it could have been a little bit longer of a movie. It only came in at 96 minutes. I feel like they could have made it a tad bit longer. The budget was $175 million, and the box office was a whopping $735 million.
Not too shabby. Not too shabby.
The main character, Carl, was it Fredrickson?
I thought it was Sanderson. You might be right.
Fredrickson. Either way,
Carl, you're right. It's Carl.
It is Carl. We'll just go with Carl. He is actually based on, partially based on a real person. That's Spencer Tracy, who was a longtime actor. He's been passed since the mid 70s, the mid 60s. But he won like 2 Academy Awards for Best Actor. He had like 13 nominees, and he was very well known in the the whole acting field.
Yeah.
They went over. Excuse me. Let me start this over. The Pixar artists actually visited a place in Venezuela back in 2004 to do research, the Tepias. And that's where they took a lot of their scenery and everything. It's a little bit of greenery, but a lot of stonework and everything out there. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, and that's basically the sign. There was a lot of sightings when this movie was first premiering over in like the International Film Festival. George Lucas was seen with them. They really promoted the living bejeebas out of this movie, and rightfully so. I think they honestly knocked it out of the park. It was a fantastic movie, and it sits comfortably at my number 4. It could have been higher. But if you didn't say it at number 4, I probably would have saved it for maybe 3, but I figure why bring it up when we're already on it, so I went with number 4. So your number 3, please.
Well,
it is Fredrickson. Yes.
It is Fred. I was just going to say, everybody and their brother just typed that it was Fredrickson, and I really appreciate our listeners just to correct us when we don't have all the notes right in front of us. To keep in mind, we are an unscripted show. Okay, so top 3, this is really starting to get really a super challenge. I am going to go, and I would be really remiss if for some reason I didn't at least put this in my list. And no, it's not number 1, but it holds a very close place in my heart, and that is Toy Story.
Which one?
The first one.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. I think the first one, the original. I think it's the best one out of the 3. Granted, the third one is like, you don't know what's going to happen in the third one, in the sense of, are they setting it up for a fourth one? Are they? Are they? It was kind of like, I think more people were interested in that than what's really going to happen. But I really think that the third one was just it was kind of sad. But it was also very exciting at the same time. But the first one, where it all started, with the release date of November 22nd, 1995. This is definitely a movie that, is almost like a point of reference for computer animated motion picture history, in my opinion. It is a time where, let's face it, they set the standard, and it all started with Buzz and Woody.
Yeah.
And there is no denying that they are probably the most popular, character duo in Pixar history. I think that, while I didn't mention Bug's Life, the fact of the matter is that Bug's Life was a very difficult second act, so to speak, for Pixar after they just blew it out of the water with Toy Story. I really honestly think that, you start thinking about Toy Story, you think about the storyline in of itself, and for a first time, you actually started thinking about your kids' toys down there. What do they do? When we're gone, type of thing. And is that the reason why batteries are at such high demand? And things like that. But the funny part about it is that I kind of thought of myself as a kid. I had my favorite toys, and the interesting part is that I kind of thought about, when I was a kid, was I more like Andy than anybody else, type of thing. It really kind of brought back some memories in my childhood. I mean, let's see, 95, I was in my early 20s. So, and at that time still acting like a kid. So it was one of those things. But also the thing is, again, Randy Newman doing one of the most fantastic soundtracks that you could possibly ever imagine, along with technology that was never seen before in a sense of animation. Absolutely fabulous film. I know you think it should probably be higher. I know in your list it's definitely going to be higher, but
it's okay.
But you'll understand why. You'll understand why.
Oh, I know what your number one is too.
Oh, I don't think you do.
I would be shocked if it's not what I think it is.
Okay, well, you'll have to tell me that. Yeah. Until then, everybody stick around and find out what Chris's number one is.
My number 3 is going to be WALL-E.
Really?
I love that movie.
See, okay, go ahead. I'll comment in a minute.
Absolutely phenomenal movie. And I'm going to tell you what I think is a funny, very, very, very funny scene that I don't know if people actually, because, all right, so WALL-E's a trash compactor, essentially. And he's designed to clean up this planet that humans have basically destroyed, which is supposed to represent what humans are doing to planet Earth.
Yeah, there's an environmental message to it.
Yeah. So, he's going around and he realizes that he can't clean it all up, but he's still trying. The one time he's going through trash, and I don't know if people caught this, he literally picks up a bra. And I don't know why. I remember seeing it in the theater. I was like, did Pixar just do that? So I went back when I finally came out and I watched it. I remember Paul like, that is absolutely phenomenal.
I remember that scene. Don't ask me why I remember that scene. I remember that scene.
It's such a good movie. I mean, even if you wanted to be a little bit on the sappy side, when they're watching one of the TVs that's kind of jimmy rigged and held up, there's an actual live action clip of a song. It only takes a moment. I don't know if anybody remembers that. It was a Hello Dolly song. So, but when this comes on, that's what inspires WALL-E to finally hold hands with Eve. Eve is the other robot or probe. I'm not really, what is she considered?
She's a robot.
She is considered a robot.
Yeah, sure.
It was a really good movie. There was a lot of, and I'm not one of those people that wants this deep message from Disney that's like, oh, keep planet Earth clean, recycle. That's not what I'm going to the movies for. But absolute great movie. It made a killing. It was not one of the best movies came out there. You know what I feel about WALL-E? I feel like it gets so disrespected. How easy would it be? You already have the technology to make R2D2. Disney has R2, whatever. The robot that beeps at people. You've got the technology.
The robot that beeps at people. Oh my gosh!
Why has he not been introduced into Epcot? Like a real one. Why is he not introduced yet? I mean, at this point, you're not going to get him unless they do a revamp of it or a part 2, which. Didn't really get open to do it a part 2 though.
But hold on, you're onto something there, okay? Because long time ago they had West Palm and Push the Trash Can, okay?
Yes,
and obviously Push you weren't supposed to put anything into the trash can, but you can actually make WALL-E, an actual semi-autonomous robot that would actually sweep things up.
Yeah,
I think you can do that, and I think it would be funny to have him walk around during the Food and Wine Festival. picking up all the trash from everybody, and then, you know, although I think, you know, it would be the bad thing, people would actually throw their trash on the ground purposely in order for Wally to clean it up.
I mean, I would, just because I would like to see that happen. And obviously, if the robot didn't pick it up, I would just go pick it up and throw it away. But I mean, like, heck, I want to say, I mean, he made it to my number 3 favorite Disney Pixar movie. Yeah, if they put it in the park, I'm going to see if it watched. No, Danny's not going to watch Star Wars now. It's just not any time to R2D2.
I'm going to have to just send you my set and let's let you watch it. Simple as that.
So what is your number 2?
Okay. I'm going to be really... I've got to tell you that actually number 2, I have a tie for number 2. Okay? I'm allowed. My rules. I'm making it up as...
Wait, what did you say? I'm sorry, I was reading something.
I have a tie for number 2.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and you'll find out here in a second why. So, my number 2, and I said it's a 2-part, is a combination of Cars and Cars 3. Notice how I didn't say Cars 2.
Is that your number 1?
No. I said Cars and Cars 3 are my number 2 pick.
Okay.
And the reason why I say it like that, first off, I mean, Cars in of itself is, you know, some people have heard me talk about this on past shows, but Cars was the only movie I've ever seen in the theater 5 times.
Oh my God.
Cars was I mean, it was, you know, my son was a couple years old. He loved it. He loved that movie. And so we just kept on watching it over and over again. Now, mind you, we only saw it like maybe twice at the real theater, so to speak. And then we saw it like once at, like a second run theater where it was like $250 to get in. And then we saw it a couple times at what we used to call Sticky Foot Theater, where, you know, basically as you walk down the aisle of this kind of rundown, cost you $1 to get in theater, you could feel your shoes stick to the ground.
Yeah.
Sticky foot. But that was an absolutely fabulous film, and I saw that and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with that movie so much. It was when I got my first Blu-ray player, it was my first Blu-ray disc. And all I gotta say is this, is that if you play the Blu-ray disc in its proper format, you hear things that you've never heard before. And it's it's really funny. Really, especially if you have a really good home theater system. It's hilarious. But, you know, the whole fact that to be able to personify cars as people and cars as feelings, and to have a really strong, meaningful storyline to go along with it. Not to mention that you have characters that are like so star-studded, it's not even funny. But at the same time, you didn't really see, or I should say hear, those stars as who they are. But I don't think I could ever hear Owen Wilson's voice again and think anything other than Lightning McQueen.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Bonnie Hunt was Sally. Simple as that. Or simple, you know, Cheech Marin as Ramon. Come over to Ramon. I fix you up good. You know, and of course, George Carlin as Fillmore. Seriously, couldn't pick a better one than that, you know. I still, every time I see it, I still see something else that I didn't see before. And it's just a fabulous movie. Now, Cars 3. Notice I'm going to say this right now. Cars 2 not only was not my favorite, but I really honestly thought that Cars 2 was going to destroy the Cars franchise.
I didn't think it was that bad.
Oh my gosh, it sucked. I'm fine. You pulled it out of me. It was the Hoover vacuum cleaner of movies in that series. It sucked. I mean, I'm sorry. It was not a good movie. They were trying to put too many elements into that movie at the same time. I mean, I enjoyed it the first time. I said, okay, fine. I didn't expect much. Cars 3, though, got to see it at a special preview the week before it was released through TVC when I was down in Disney. And I walked out of that movie theater. I looked at my wife. I'm like, that was a dang good movie. That was fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. And, between the acting, the storyline, I say acting, voice acting, of course, the storyline, the animation, it was just phenomenal. And I've got my copy of Cars 3 already pre-ordered, and I guarantee you I will not wait until the weekend after it comes here. I will open it up. The Gusman Omniplex will be put on total complete loud mode, and it's going to be seen again. I cannot wait. Such a fabulous movie. Wonderful soundtrack once again. And I actually saw that one in 3D, and for once the 3D effects didn't cause me to give me a headache. But I just think if you're going to see the Cars franchise movies, just see 1, see 3. 2 is not really worth it. Granted, Mater deserved a little bit of love, and he got it. But Mater can't, as much as I love Mater, he can't hold his own when it comes to his own, to a full-on movie. So there you go. My number 2s, Cars 1, Cars 3.
Okay, so I'm glad you did that because I didn't want to be the jerk that was going to do this.
Uh-oh.
But Toy Story is not going to be my number 1.
What?
It's well above number 1.
Oh,
it's so far gone. I'm giving you an honest top 5 because it's not fair to do a Toy Story for me. It's too obvious.
Well, okay, yeah, it's kind of obvious, and everybody would just lose their flipping mind.
I also don't want people not tuning out. Like, oh, Danny's turn is their number 1. No show's over. We're not gonna hit list. No, I will talk about Toy Story later in the episode, but I'm gonna give you an honest top 5. So my number 2. Okay, my number 2 is gonna be released in 2015. Inside Out.
Very good choice. Very good choice. And I know we briefly talked about that yesterday. I want to hear the real story behind why.
Well, you got to remember, this is one of a major movie where
a major emotion picture.
Yeah, again, where the main character's parents are both alive, and not even both alive, just both present.
Okay,
that's big for me because I got tired of this one parent thing. I get it; it's a common thing in in everyday society. I'm all for it, but I don't need Disney to shove that down my face every episode. I get it. Single parents do a fantastic job. Thank you, all the single parents out there. But could we give a nod to people who have 2 parents? Like, what's going on here? That was not the reason why it was my number 2, though.
You bring up a good point, though, because I mean, every once in a while you hear the conversation of, so-and-so's one parent dies, and it's, like, okay, Finding Nemo, one of my favorites. I mean, in the beginning, spoiler alert, the mom dies, and, Marlin has to raise Nemo all by himself type of thing. And, people were like, was it really necessary for them to kill off the mom? That sort of thing. But no, I totally get it. I really do.
Let's be honest. She plays hockey, so if anybody knows me, that is a huge plus when Disney decides to throw in hockey into a movie. Just to go over a little bit, it had some great voice acting, and I really enjoy obviously voice acting. Riley, the main character, was voiced by Caitlin Diaz. Then they had 5 personalities. If you haven't seen it, it's basically the main movie takes place in this little girl Riley in her brain, and it shows how you have these 5 main emotions and how they all operate together, and they go through struggles together, and they learn to bond and gel and work together. They have Joy, which is your happy person, by Amy Feeler. Sadness was by Phyllis Smith. Anger by Lewis Black. Fantastic job. He did a
oh my gosh, job. He was so good.
Also, Fear by Bill Hader. Awesome job. And for the longest time, I did not realize that it was not a woman who played Fear. I thought it was a woman who played Fear. I don't know why. It just threw something off in my head, and I thought it was a woman who played Fear. No. And then you had Disgust, which was Mindy Kaling, which she did.
Oh my gosh.
Played that role to a T.
The funny part about it is that Disgust, while she was green in the movie, almost kind of looked like Mindy.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I hope that doesn't. I'm not meaning it as any kind of an insult to Mindy. I think she's a fabulous actress, to be honest with you. I really like her work. I think she's funny as all get out. But you could almost picture each one of the emotions looking like their voice actor. I mean, seriously, yeah, come on. I'm right.
Absolute fantastic job. They put a great crew together. Once again, one of the shorter movies, only 94 minutes. It was budgeted at 175 million, ended up turning around, and out of the box office did 857 million. So,
yeah, it was a fabulous movie, and for some of the greatest one-liners that walked out on there.
Yeah.
Great San Francisco. Now you ruined pizza. Can I say that cuss word now? And I've actually used that of my wife a couple of times. Okay, but Danny, be honest with me. Everybody wants to know this one thing though. When Bing Bong kind of went away, did you have your eyeballs sweat a little bit?
No, but that's not me being like, oh, I'm this big macho guy. I've openly admitted there's plenty of movies on this earth that Marley and Me. You put that movie on, I'm crying. Ladder 49. You put that movie on, I'm crying.
Good movie too.
This movie did not make me cry, but I mean, it definitely tugged on the heartstrings, because Disney has gotten better as time has gone on. They not only gear these movies towards kids, but they also gear them towards adults because they might not be adult content. You might not see a lot of cussing and swearing and adult content in it, but they still tug on the heartstrings of either when you were a child or some major things that happen in an adult lives in a lifetime. It was a fantastic movie. Absolutely fantastic. And it almost could have been my number one, but my number one is a solid movie, and we'll get to that after Chris gives us his number one.
All right. So most people would probably say, how in the world did I not just pick Cars as my number one flick? Because to be very honest, this is very difficult. And I love the movie Cars. And as I said, Cars 3 was fabulous. I mean, you walk into my theater, the first thing you see is an original movie slick for the teaser poster for Cars, where you got Lightning McQueen kind of poking out from underneath the blanket, or like a sheet type of thing. And it says the new arrivals in 2006. And, but for those of you that know me, there's only a few movies that I will just stop and I will watch this movie no matter what. In fact, one year I had to go to work day after Thanksgiving at like 4 a.m, and I had to get some sleep. But by gosh, they were playing The Incredibles on TV. And that, my friends, is my number one favorite Pixar movie right now is The Incredibles. And, I absolutely loved this movie. And I am so excited to know that they're coming out with part 2. Can't wait to see it. I mean, I just thought it was a really cool movie. Let's face it. I mean, there was action, there was suspense. The voice acting in them were just absolutely fabulous. It was suspenseful enough without making little kids scared. Yeah, where's my super suit? It's like you think of some of these people that are in that. In fact, the whole phrase "wear my super suit," I tell you right now, especially in the wintertime. Honey, have you seen my jacket? And I'll hear in the background, where's my super suit? But seriously, one of my favorite movies. I will sit back in the background. I will watch it. Between that, as I said, the other one is Wreck-It Ralph and The Shawshank Redemption. I will sit and watch no matter what happens. If it comes on TV, I am just hosed. But the interesting part about The Incredibles is that, most of it was entirely done by Brad Bird. He wrote it, he directed it, he did a fantastic job. In fact, it was like, it was, at least when it comes to the Pixar films, it was kind of his, entrance into the Pixar realm. And he just knocked it out of the park, if you asked me. But to wait almost 15 years for a sequel, there's a lot of anticipation. And I can't wait to see what that's going to come out for, Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl, and all that other jazz. That's just going to be fantastic.
Well, that shows you why me and Chris are completely different people, because I thought that was one of the worst movies ever created by Pixar.
Oh my!
I dislike that movie up and down 10 times.
I have to ask though. Well, I mean, I respect your opinion, kind of, sort of, but
I couldn't tell you why. It
didn't appeal. Just didn't appeal.
I literally bought a ticket for it. I sat the first half hour of it and I walked out and I was like, I'm gonna need a ticket to a different movie.
Wow.
Yeah, it I don't know. It just wasn't what I wanted it to be and what I really thought it would be. But hey, maybe I need to sit back now. I've been a little older. Maybe I'll appreciate it a little bit differently. I don't know. I'm always up. So I'll give everything a shot. I didn't really, to be fair, I didn't give it a full shot. I only watched, an eighth of the movie and then walked out. My number one.
Yeah.
Ratatouille. Loved Ratatouille.
Really?
Absolutely. I have been begging for Disney to get Ratatouille, a Ratatouille theme. France is the perfect spot for it, obviously based off of France. It's just such a good. Man, the original trailer actually debuted during Cars. If you remember, it was one of the pre-trailers during Cars. And it was actually from a scene that it's one of the first times you really saw a scene from a trailer not be put in the actual movie.
It was a specially made trailer. It was
Mm-hmm. He was on the cheese cart, and the cheese cart was kind of going through the main dining area.
Yeah.
And people always say to me, that's the oddest movie. Why would you like Ratatouille? All right, and this is going to sound stupid. It's a bit of a stretch. I get it. But you had a mouse that was passionate about something, okay? And that mouse wanted nothing, it was a mouse, right? Not a rat. Oh, I guess it was obviously a rat. What am I thinking? Okay, so you have this rat, and this rat wanted nothing but to be a chef. He used to watch it on the TV. He used to dream about it. He was good at it, and he was able to find a way in. And no matter how many times the person that he was technically controlling got praise for all the great things, he just kept doing it because that was something he loved. Even when they found out that he was a rat and they kicked him out of the kitchen, they wouldn't let him buy anything, he never stopped following his passion, even when everybody kept pushing him down. And you might say, Danny, that's ridiculous. This is a cartoon. How'd you get all that? But when you think about it, this is like real life. Disney nailed it on the head. How many times, and maybe you have it in your life, but I know, just for an example, this podcast. When I first started this podcast, I was told, you're never going to make it. This podcast ain't going to catch on. You're 5 years too late. Stop doing it. We easily could have stopped, and this never would have been sitting here. Now I'm sitting here telling you about Ratatouille being my favorite movie of Pixar while I drink out of my Behind the Ears podcast mug. If you just chase it and you keep going for it, they show you that Disney has a tendency to blast a lot of things in your face, and people think when Disney is it's Cinderella and make believe and things like that. And yes, granted, this is a make believe movie. It's an animated film, but at the end of the day, it had great thought behind it, where kids can enjoy the storyline, but also enjoy the cartoonness, while parents can actually sit back and be like, this rat's on to something. So that is why Ratatouille made it to my number one.
I will say I thought the movie was great too, I might add, and I do like that movie. I will sit back and watch it when it comes on. Not necessarily, obviously not in my top 5. In fact, I'll be honest with you, between that and also Brave, just barely missed my top 5. I loved the movie Brave, as a matter of fact. First off, I think the animation in Brave was stunning. Especially seriously, how in the world do you come up with a program to animate Merida's hair?
Yeah.
I mean, that in itself is a technological breakthrough. I mean, ranks right up there with Sully's hair, if you think about it. And Sully's hair happened before that. I mean, it's true story. They actually created a special program just to render the fur onto characters in Monsters Inc. So it's just one of those things. But no, I can see that. Ratatouille is a really solid film. Just because we may not have it in our top 5 doesn't necessarily mean, doesn't necessarily mean they're bad movies. I mean, keep in mind, there's, significantly fewer movies to really choose from. But at the same time, it's just what we think right now. Hey, you know what? If we do this again a year from now, I bet you any money the answers will be different. The ranking will be different.
So they want to know. Obviously, Chris would have thought Toy Story for me, but he didn't realize I had an ace up my sleeve. Would you have guessed if I had told you that Toy Story wasn't going to be counted? What my number 1 would have been? What would have been your guess?
Okay. Well, let's see. If I had a guess, what would have been probably your favorite? I actually thought, you would go with, something kind of right in the middle of the Pixar realm. I mean, I actually thought you would have brought up, Monsters Inc. as your first choice outside of Toy Story, or maybe even The Incredibles itself, with maybe A Bug's Life. But outside of that, I actually thought you were instantaneously going to say Toy Story. We know that Toy Story is life for you, so to speak. So I was I kind of predicted that anyway. But I thought that you would kind of go for the more inspirational films, so to speak.
Before I answer that, can you name the actor that was in every Pixar movie? Yes,
John Ratzenberger.
Yep, there we go.
I mean, come on, guys. If you're gonna challenge Mr. Chris in movie trivia, make it count. Simple as that.
Okay. I would have thought, I had 2 thoughts. I thought, okay, he could go with the typical, which I thought would have been Cars.
Yeah.
And then I thought you were like, no, he's going to throw a monkey wrench in there. I thought you were going to go Bug's Life.
Really? No, I love Bug's Life. I really do. I think, the characters in that movie were just fabulous. And I will say, I thought it was kind of inspirational. And in fact, I have used clips of Bug's Life for inspirational purposes with my team and stuff like that, using a video clip in a presentation. This was many years ago, but I mean, seriously, 30-second clip. But yeah, I could. You would be close. You would have been close.
Okay, so let's touch on the elephant in the room here.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
And that is Toy Story. And I'm going to tell you why Toy Story is the best film ever made all time by any movie company. It is better than Gone with the Wind. It makes Avatar look like a box of silly string. Toy Story is by far, hands down, the most amazing movie ever. It not only launched Pixar and made Pixar what it is today, you were able to see sequels come out about a movie that progressively got better. Usually, you talk about Cars. Okay, Cars 1 was great. Cars 2 sucked. Cars 3 was good. Cars 4 was, as you go down the list, Toy Story just progressively got better. I mean, nothing is better than the original, but their sequels actually made sense. They were good. They weren't random sequels. They introduced new characters and they made it so good. Kayla, you could disagree with me all the time, but it makes Toy Story makes Jurassic Park look like someone just drew some dinosaurs on a piece of paper.
See, Jurassic Park is a great example of a movie that the first one and the last one are actually really, really good. Everything else in the middle.
You could see I've got the Alien. I've got, thanks to Mr. Chris, a Buzz Lightyear that sits right next to me.
There it is.
Last year during Christmas, one of our listeners decided to send me Toy Story money. Okay, nice. That always stays on my desk. Nice. I've got Toy Story stuff everywhere. But to show you how good Toy Story is, for you new people, you might not even know this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Check this out, y'all.
This is how dedicated I am to Toy Story, okay? I have a Buzz Lightyear tattoo.
I still am very amazed on how awesomely shaded that Buzz is.
I mean, you can zoom in. He's got, look at his face. That is on point. And, I put my own little flair on it. He's holding the microphone, and obviously, I know some people can't really tell that is Disney's lettering, and that is BTEP for Behind the Ears podcast.
By the way, that was the moment, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, that we realized that we really can't change the podcast name. So
it's branded on me. Yeah. Every time I move this camera, it always messes up. So listen, I could sit here for another 6 hours and literally talk to you about why Toy Story is the most amazing film ever made. At the end of the day, we could just move on because I'll bore you all to death. Brandon goes, cough, nerd alert. Coming from the guy who decided to show me today that he's got a raptor skull that was used in Jurassic Park. So I don't want to hear nothing.
Oh, Daddy just left us for a second. Where'd he go? There he is.
I'm trying to get
if you're gonna do the nerd alert, you got to do it like the Austin Powers nerd alert. So anyway, so that was our Pixar picks for the two of us, and tomorrow or next episode that's going to be coming up, we are going to talk about non-animated Disney movies. Now, think about how much of a spread that is. In fact, Danny, I don't know about you, and you and I haven't talked about this. I think we should go to at least a top 7 for that because there's so many to pick from. But I don't know. We'll think about it. You and I will chat offline. We'll see because obviously there are just so many Disney non-animated movies out there. In fact, I'll be honest with you, there are so many that you would be surprised at how many movies are out there that Walt Disney produced. And it's amazing. And some of them are just fantastic, but we've kind of lost touch with, the classics, so to speak. We look at the stuff that's happened since, 1990. But yet we don't pay attention to the stuff that was produced in the 40s or 50s or 60s. So we're going to touch on some of that, and some of our choices may surprise you. So I can't wait for that one. So we'll have to see about that, man.
Do you have any final parting words that you would like to instill on all our listeners?
I don't think so. I am just so glad that everybody was here today. Basically, Danny and I were looking at some things while some of the comments were scrolling past the screen. As always, I always go and look through the comments, usually the next morning, and comment accordingly. So just remember, we do see everything that you post. So I just appreciate everybody's time today.
That being said, everybody, don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. Facebook is Behind the Ears Podcast. Instagram is Behind the Ears Podcast. And that pesky Twitter is Behind the Ears PC. Any listener questions, comments, or concerns, please send them to behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. While you're on Facebook, why don't you head on over and ask to join the Disney community. It's a very quick growing community. We're at 3,000 plus members, and we'd like to bring more people in. Once again, that is the Disney community. If you like this mug, you like that mug, right? That's like that mug.
I like that mug.
I don't have any other.
And Danny, for all you do, that mug's for you.
And I don't really have any other things around me, but if you like that mug or you want to buy, shop anything Behind the Ears Podcast or any other the designs we have, there's the stickers, Casey's Corner shirt, Halloween shirts, simply head on over to behindtheearspodcast.net. And lastly, from me, don't forget to rate and review us on iTunes. With that being said, I am Uncle Danny. Sorry for the blurry camera here at the end, but I'm signing out.
And I'm Mr. Chris. Thanks, everybody, for joining us tonight. Had a wonderful time talking about our favorite Pixar movies. And you know what? I'll tell you what. Just remember, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast over at iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Play Music, or just go ahead and do it through your podcatcher app, whatever you use to catch your podcasts. And believe it or not, when you subscribe, not only do you get every show right when it comes out, but it really does help us just by keeping track who's watching or who's listening, I should say. Gosh, I can't talk at the end here today. But thanks everybody for joining us, and until next time, we hope to see you again soon. Take care.